A quick introduction of our eminent panelists today. Professor Ramesh Chand is member Niti Aayog member of the Niti Aayog in the rank and status of Union Minister of State, an eminent academic. He's had over 3 decades of experience in research and teaching in the field of agriculture, economics, and policy. He's a fellow of the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences and the Indian Society of Agricultural Economics. He's been director, National Institute of Agriculture, Economics, and Policy Research. He's also a member of the Board of Trustees of CIMIT and a member of the Policy Advisory Council of the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research, Canberra. He's been consultant with various international organizations, has chaired important committees on food and agriculture policy for the Government of India, and has represented India in meetings of G20 and UN SCAP. He's a recipient of the Jawaharlal Nehru Award 1984 and the Rafi Ahmad Kidwai Award 2006 of the Indian Council of Agricultural Research. We are very honored to have you with us. Ms. Rasha Omar is currently the IFAD country representative in India, an agricultural economist by training. She's been working in the field of agriculture and rural development since 1992. Her work on gender mainstreaming has paved the way for stronger involvement in the design and supervision of projects and programs on the ground. And she's been with IFAD since 2001 and has worked in countries in the Middle East and Africa, and managed several portfolios and large volume and large budgets. Dr. Nagar Goje from the IAS is Director General, Maharashtra Council of Agriculture, Education and Research, and based at Pune. He's a doctorate in nutrition from Osmania University and in food science from the University of Alberta, Canada. And following 4 years in the State Agriculture University system, he entered the administrative service and has had a long and distinguished career of 3 decades, dotted by numerous achievements. He's been director of the Rajmata Jijao Mother Child Health and Nutrition Mission, Government of Maharashtra, and Deputy Director General of Yashwantrao Chavan Academy of Development Administration prior to his current position as DG MCAER. Dr. Jagan Mohan, he's the head of Division Agriculture Policy and Planning in the State Planning Commission, Government of Tamil Nadu. He's from the Agriculture University Research System and was a professor in the Tamil Nadu Agriculture University before taking up this assignment with the Planning Commission from 2011. And Dr. Lalita Bhattacharjee, we've already heard her as a panelist in the session yesterday. She's the senior nutritionist with FAO, and prior to joining FAO in 2000, she was in the teaching and research system. She's been making valuable contributions in the planning and application of food-based nutrition for development, and has been supporting the FAO field programs in nutrition policies, capacity strengthening, training and research, and community-based nutrition-sensitive strategies in Bangladesh, selected states of India, Laos, Sri Lanka, and Thailand from 2001, and continues to do so. She's helped to enhance the advocacy and investments for nutrition among development partners. She has a number of publications to her credit and is a recipient of the FAO's biennial B.R. Sen Award for 2014 in recognition of outstanding contribution towards improvements in nutrition in Bangladesh. So thank you to our very eminent panel here, and of course Professor Swaminathan is chairing it. So just before we get down to the deliberations, a quick recap of our deliberations through right from yesterday morning, the various sessions that we put together. The first session we had yesterday was on pathways to farming system for nutrition, and we tried to just put together the quick highlights because there are panelists here like Professor Ramesh Chand, Dr. Jagan Mohan, Rasha Omar were not here with us yesterday. So in terms of, it came out like We have, what we are largely aware of, but was re-emphasized in terms of being the largest producer of food, but also having this huge population suffering from malnutrition, the lack of dietary diversity, and what needs to be done, the thrust on need for focus on nutrient-dense crops, on nutrition awareness, behavior change, communication, on having a farming systems approach. And in terms of having a life cycle approach, paying attention to the different aspects of gender, the needs of different social groups, the aspects of social engineering. And the main concluding point that emerged from this session one, which kind of set the tone for the sessions that followed, was we need solutions that can go to scale at speed, because we've been talking about this problem for long, and FSN, or a farming systems for nutrition approach, has to go to scale. We could make a beginning by taking it to all the Krishi Vigyan Kendras. It can then be contextualized, and the local level models can develop, but the action has to start immediately. That was a very strong message that came from the chair, Dr. Shankar, who chaired that session. The second session was on agrobiodiversity and climate change, which emphasized on the role of biodiversity in contributing to the richness of the farming system, the climate resilience of the resilient practices of indigenous communities, the nutrient-dense values of the foods consumed traditionally by indigenous communities, and the need to understand, revive, and nurture those practices, those foods, and mainstream them, and the necessary support for developing the value chain. Another key point was that the success of a farming systems for nutrition approach will require the support of a grid of genetic gardens, which can both create awareness as well as provide the necessary planting material to multiply the access and availability of nutrient-dense crops, and an understanding of consumer tastes and preferences that kept coming up through many of the sessions, that whenever we plan, these are aspects to be taken into consideration. The Nutritionists Perspectives, we had a very eminent panel of nutrition experts deliberating yesterday, in the last session yesterday. The issues of food quality in terms of the density of nutrients in different foods, their bioavailability and for absorption. The research on agriculture will have to address these aspects in terms of nutrition-sensitive agriculture. Empirical evidences on impact of agriculture and horticulture on nutritional status were shared by the speakers. Dietary diversification through a farm-based approach being more sustainable and empowering if properly implemented. There were cases that were, the cases shared demonstrated evidence of these. The need for an enabling environment to practice nutrition-sensitive agriculture, and the paramount need of synergies between different departments, which again, a point that keeps coming up in different fora. This morning's session started with the role of technology in farming system for nutrition, in terms of the necessary research and technology to address yield gaps in crops that we wish to promote under FSN, the retaining the nutrition, the need for ease of processing, aspects of food safety to be assessed, when claim verification, etc., the necessary importance to be given. The necessary policy support, regulation. Regulation should not act as a brake was an important point that came up, but also has to be safeguarding and give the right direction. No technology can be taken for granted, and they should be properly assessed and then taken on board. An important underlying factor which the chair summed up was the need for political will and the need to address nutrition holistically. And the last session before lunch was on bridging the gaps, where there was the concept of community hunger fighters, or building capacity at the grassroots level, champions, men and women who will be the champions to take forward the need for a farming systems approach to address undernutrition, the need to understand the seasonality of productive activities and the roles of men and women in agriculture, and how to provide inculcate that into the policy planning. Like there are crops which are exclusively regarded as women's crops, or women spend a lot more time on it, so what is the kind of support needed? The Smart Food Initiative of ICRISAT to mainstream millets and sorghum through value chain development, using ICT to promote agriculture nutrition linkages and a farming system for nutrition approach through participatory content development and extension, and the underlying emphasis on WASH as an important aspect in bridging the gap to ensure that we actually realize the farming systems for nutrition on the approach on the ground to impact on nutrition outcomes. And this, the last the session that all of you just heard was the farmers themselves speaking about their experiences, the problems, and the issues facing them. So that kind of sets the context for this session on policy support for farming system for nutrition. And I request Professor Swaminathan.
I want to first of all add my words of welcome to the fellow panelists, particularly Dr. Chand. I know the parliamentary session is very difficult to come, but shows his commitment to the particular theme also, apart from the cause for which this meeting has been convened, and all the other very distinguished panelists. I want to also, Dr. Andrade is here. She just set up, yesterday she was honored by the Rotary Club with a very distinguished award. She's the World Food Prize laureate, and what she has done, what she has done in Mozambique, she has practically shown the value of what we are discussing, not in theory but in actual practice. Marrying agriculture, nutrition and health, she has been able to transform the health of people, a very large number of women and children. Thank you for coming, and all the best to you. Thank you for coming. The major aim of this particular meeting was we are talking about what several people have called the unpardonable burden of malnutrition in this country, in spite of all the progress we have made in agriculture, green revolution and so on. But the awareness that we should be also slowly shifting from food security to nutrition security is widely present. But how to do it, that's the main thing, and that's the main thing. We have been talking about the green revolution, but the seeds for a nutrition revolution, in my view, after hearing the last 2 days, the seeds for a nutrition revolution have been sown here. Now that seed has to sprout and to grow and to bear fruit. Well, I shall say a few words at the end, but meanwhile, we are all anxious to hear our distinguished panelists. Also, I want to thank Bhavani and all our colleagues for putting together a summary of some of the important points made at the meeting last 2 days.
Most respected Professor M.S. Swaminathan ji, fellow panelists and distinguished participants. First of all, I would like to congratulate MS Research Foundation for choosing this very, very important theme for consultation and deliberations. In fact, I have just seen from the salient point discussed in different sessions that from that it looks like that this was not just one more seminar on issue of farming system and nutrition, but I would say that this was a seminar with a difference. And really it has touched the chords, it has touched upon various dimensions of nutrition and then pitched in farming system in a very, very nice way. I rather pity myself that I couldn't be here during the last 2 days to actually hear different speakers because though we are discussing most of these issues in Niti Yog in different meetings, but I feel that that coming to this kind of seminar and hearing views of people leave totally different impression and impact on you rather than just discussing these things in Delhi. Friends, this is my first visit to this foundation, and I would like to take this opportunity to just say a few things in a minute or two about Professor Swaminathan. Many of you were fortunate to celebrate his, I think, 92nd birthday on 7th of August, 2 days back. I could not be part of that celebration. As you all know, India is fortunate to have a thinker like Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, who has been picking and highlighting major issues that concern humanity and that concern future of humanities. He has been doing this not only for India, but I would say he has been doing it for entire developing world. But in case of India, he has also been putting his idea into action, his ideas into practice. But you talk to people in developing country and other places, they treat him as a guide philosopher. In fact, this year's summit BOT meeting was to be held in Kathmandu. For some reason, the venue has been changed last month, and all the members of BOT, they requested me that when they are in India, before going to Nepal, will it be possible for them to have interaction with Professor Swaminathan? So that is the kind of respect which Professor Swaminathan enjoys with the larger community, not only in India, but I will say that across the globe. Though many people call Professor Swaminathan as a father of Green Revolution, but I just find that being a father of Green Revolution, he did not nurture only one child. Not only Green Revolution, he just, you might have observed that with the passage of time, depending upon requirement of time, he has been bringing new kind of ideas, new kind of priorities, and new kind of needed solutions for addressing larger good of humanities. Though he is father of Green Revolution, but when he found that Green Revolution is bringing some problem, so he came with Evergreen Revolutions. And I will be very brief that when he found that Green Revolution was affecting natural resources, it was affecting long run future, and to just have some gain in the short run. So when he was given the honor of being a president of Indian Society of Agriculture Economics, so in his address, he just said that our emphasis should be on gross natural product, not on gross national product. So we should be seeing what we are doing in this process of production, and from last couple of years, he has been working like a crusader against hunger, against malnutrition, against undernutrition. So from my side, I would like to wish a very, very healthy and long life to Dr. Swaminathan as a person. I would say that this will serve our selfish goal also, so that he can serve all of us and the humanities at large with his wonderful ideas and with his wonderful contribution to promote larger human welfare. Now coming to this topic of food farming system and nutrition, I would first say something about nutrition, then about farming system, and lastly about a few things about policy aspects or policy support for farming system. As you all know, India is now largely food self-sufficient at macro level, at aggregate level. Though we are still importing pulses, still importing large quantity of edible oils, but if you look at the aggregate level, you will just find that India exports nearly 7 to 8% of its total food production, and we import only 3 to 4% of our total consumption. So overall, net, we are a net exporter, and that net amount is, that 3 to 4% of our total production. How we could achieve this? It is very simple that in last 50 years since the onset of Green Revolution, if you look at growth rate of food production, it is close to 3%. To be precise, it is 2.9%. And growth rate in population for these last 50 years has been only 2%. So which means that on an average, the per capita production has been rising at 0.9%, and the net impact of that has been that this year we have 84% more production per capita compared to what we had in the mid-60s when we started with the Green Revolutions. And if you look at composition of this growth, you just find that it has been much more in case of fruit and vegetable, in case of livestock product, and relatively lower growth in case of food grains. So when we have so much increase in per capita food production, certainly there will be some impact on hunger and nutrition. It's not that you are consuming more, but there is no impact on hunger and nutrition. So we have come out of, I will say, extreme kind of hunger. We don't hear the kind of story which we used to hear in early 70s. In Kalahandi, people died because of hunger and those kind of things. So by and large, you will just find that today people have enough cereal to eat if they want to eat. By choice, our per capita production is declining, that is another matter. And India is the largest exporter of rice in the world, nearly 10 to 11 million tons being exported every year. So we can say that in terms of availability of staple foods, we have been producing, but people would like to consume. One could debate that people should consume more, but they would like to consume. We have been producing that. But if you look at the balanced nutrition, there you find that there are serious issues. And if you look at but the recommended dietary allowance, there you find that there are gaps. So I will say that we have made a lot of achievement, but still many more milestones need to be achieved. We need to we still have a long journey before us, and mainly because in the case of food grain, the composition has changed, which is somewhat adverse for nutrition. The share of pulses has declined, the share of coarse cereal has declined, whereas a share of fruit and vegetable livestock product in the diet has increased considerably. So the net impact, you just see that we have made improvement, but it is not to the extent we would have liked to have during the 50 years with the kind of increase which we have witnessed in case of food, that per capita improvement of 84, but you don't see 84% improvement in terms of nutrition. So there are some imbalances there which are a matter of concern. Then I would also like to say that we need to improve our understanding of why we have this problem of undernourishment, and we do not have very reliable, systematic, time series data on input side of nutrition. We have very good data on outcome side of nutrition, that you will just readily get percent of children stunted, percent of children who are wasted, percent of children who died before attaining age of 5, anemia among women. So these are all outcomes. I think every outcome is a function of inputs, particular inputs, but in terms of if we want to look at why the situation is such, then if you just want to look at what is the protein intake in different states, among different occupations, among women, men, children, different socio-economic groups, and how it has changed over time, there you just find that we do not have rich data. We have been relying mostly on international irrigation institutions, FAO, and to be honest, I think no harm in using this word, and I am using this word with responsibility, that FAO indicator of undernutrition has been highly misleading. Why it has been misleading? Number one, FAO use a norm of average 1800 kilocalorie per person per year. Whereas our own institution, NIN, ICMR, they will tell you that average is not 1800 what we need. It is the 2240. Urban, rural, it differs, but the average is 2240. So it is obvious that if you will use a lower indicator, you will come out with a lower incidence of undernutrition. And according to SOFI, State of Food Insecurity in India of FAO, only 15% population in India is undernourished. But if you look at the independent research, work by Deaton and others, I also have 2 papers, we just find that percent of population that is calorie deprived in India based on norm of ICMR NIN is as high as 60% or more. It is not 15% as reported by FAO. But because FAO used a much lower norm of 1800 kilocalories, so incident comes out to be much less. The second big limitation with this FAO norm is that they estimate incidence of undernutrition from supply side. They take the data taken from country that what is the food balance sheet, and food balance sheet we produce our indicators that 85% of total food grain production goes for human consumption, and this 85% we used in 1951 and this 85% we are using today. Whereas again studies show that it is not 85% food grain which goes for human consumption, it is less than 70%. Over time, the amount which has gone for feed, industrial use, that has increased. So availability of food is not 85% of total production, it is less than 70%. That is the second major reason that you find that FAO showing much less in this incidence, whereas actual this incidence is much higher, and our SDG goal, etc., they use this FAO kind of thing. But this year in Niti Yog we decided to create our own indicator along with that SDG to look at what kind of progress we have made in case of nutrition. So I feel we need this kind of input indicator, what is the protein intake, what is the calorie intake, what is vitamin intake, and all those kind of things. So this is I think very important. Then coming to farming system approach, you know there are 2 approaches in production. One is farming system, another is specialization or monocropping kind of things. If you look at India's history, that traditionally Indian agriculture used to be mixed livestock and crop farming. It was rare that somebody is using producing only 1 crop or 2 crops. Generally, since the production was for subsistence, for self-sufficiency, so generally farmer used to grow some cereal, some oil seed and some pulses, and also used to keep livestock. But over time, and this was okay in terms of say nutrition and also in terms of subsistence. But as economic need of farmer increased, as new kind of technology came, the commercialization consideration became strong. And because of these commercialized consideration, it was thought that if specialization are promoted, you will have much quicker growth than if you promote farming system. So, and in country like India also we have so many examples that when you promote specialization in contrast to farming system, you get growth very easily, you get lot of profit. Like rice wheat in Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, milk in case of Gujarat, apple in case of Himachal Pradesh. So many places you find that through specialization, through monoculture, we were able to achieve quick growth and we were able to give good money to the farmers. But it has consequences. It is true in case of industry that with specialization, with the division of labor, if you specialize in production of something, you get quicker result than if you go for production of so many things at the same time. But in case of agriculture, because there are symbiotic relationships, they are complementarities, so you just find that you can continue with specialization and monocropping up to some point, but beyond that point, you will just find that those contradictions will start appearing. And this is what we are witnessing in case of India, that second generation problem of green revolution and things like that. Therefore, need to just look at this alternative approach which is being propagated rightly by the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, But for this kind of approach to serve the nutrition needs, I would like to put 2-3 issues before you. Now you imagine a situation that there are 2 villages or there are 4 villages, they are producing 4 different crops. You get some production, then you tell those 4 villages, don't produce this one crop alone, each of you should produce 4 crops. So all 4 villages, they are growing 4 crops simultaneously. What kind of trade-off involved in this kind of things? Those trade-offs we can't estimate if we look at the nutrition status only of the farmer. In that case, we need to look at the status of the non-farmer also. Like if you promote a farming system at a farm, obviously, since production of nutrition will be balanced, so if there is some relationship between consumption and production, the nutrition intake of farmer who has a farming system will be much better than a farmer who has specialization. But what will be the impact on non-farmers? Because 80% of people in this country are non-producers. They are not producers. That their population is 80%. So if you abandon the specialization approach and you go for a farming system approach, will it result in net addition to the nutrition, or it will leave the total nutrition production as such, or it will cause some adverse effect? These are the kind of things which we need to explore in order to generate a support for the farming system. This is very, very important. The second way out is that, okay, this is one aspect, farming system approach is much, much superior in terms of sustainability, in terms of ecological consideration. Then it will require that let us not sell farming system only as a strategy which give better nutrition to the farmer and his family. Let us sell it as a strategy which gives better nutrition, which promotes sustainability, which is ecologically desirable, which will be more resilient, and that kind of things. Then coming to policy aspects, I will just mention only 4 kind of policy support needed for promotion of farming system for nutrition. First is that orientation of our R&D need to be farm system focused rather than individual crop focused. You pick a package of practice of any agriculture university or ICR institute. It will give recommendation for individual crop. If you are growing paddy, apply this kind of thing. If you are growing beet, you apply this kind of thing. It doesn't look at farming system as a whole. I have been saying this in the ICR meeting also, that now the time has come that you just think of some model farming system for different typology, for different agroecology, and just let all scientists sit together, plant breeder, agronomist, pathologist, entomologist. You come out with a package for the farming system, 3-4 type of farming system, along with your recommendation for individual crops. So unless we change this orientation of R&D, you will just find that someone talked about technology, that technology is the prime mover. So you will find that the technology input will not come into farming system, in the growth of the farming system. So that is the first thing I would like to mention. Then second is, I find this awareness about nutrition is also very, very important. Sometime back, I, along with some other people, did a study. It is already published. But we found is that incidence of undernutrition was less among rich people, but it was not missing among rich people. Poor people are more undernourished, rich people are less undernourished, but it is not that rich people have good nutrition. So why rich people are not having good nutrition? Because they are not aware about nutrition. So this awareness about nutrition is very, very important, both about nutrition production and also nutrition consumption. You find many farmers. I come from a village and I have a farm. I visit every month. I ask many farmers, why you are buying this vegetable from market? It was plugged many days back. It has lot of pesticide. Why just on the one of your field and little area you put some vegetable and grow it for yourself? So this tendency of the farmer to depend more on market or to ignore fruit and vegetables, I feel that awareness can play a very important role, that these are the things which are needed, and They don't cause much competition with other things. So you grow a little bit more, and similarly this awareness among consumers that will go a long way in promoting farming system for nutrition. The third policy issue I want to highlight that you know that if you need policy support, you have to look at what are the development initiative of government. There are many development initiatives of states. In fact, state initiatives are much more than what are central initiatives. We generally feel as if center can do everything for agriculture. I find that it is much more which state can do than what center can do. So if I talk about centers, the 2-3 initiatives which we have, like RKVY, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, it was a very big initiative. Now it is being recast because 12th 5-year plan is over. Along with that, RKVY is over. Now Ministry of Agriculture is coming with a new kind of RKVY. So I would like, based on finding of this seminar, that you send your recommendation to Ministry of Agriculture, if you feel it proper to me also, that in RKVY, this farming system component should be invalid. That when RKVY is giving this assistance to the states for 10 items, this is the 11th item, which is very, very important. This should also be considered for support under RKVY, and RKVY is the major support coming from center for the states. Then lastly, I would like to say that nutrition is quite high on the agenda of the central government. About 1 month back, Principal Scientific Advisor to Prime Minister, though he is a physicist, Dr. Chidambaram, so he was asked to coordinate the effort on this, that how we can address this nutrition, because every time some reports come, IFPRI, Global Hunger Index, all those things. So India is shown in a poor light. That this is a shame that we are 170 position, all those kind of things. We are worse than Sub-Saharan Africa. We are worse than Bangladesh. So government want to do something. That why this is the situation when we are a food surplus country. So that group is headed by Dr. Chidambaram. Already he held 2-3 meetings. One thing what they have done is that they asked, that group has asked Swaminathan, who is Director General of ICMR, to lead the group and come out with pragmatic recommendation on linking agriculture and health and how to improve nutrition. Dr. Binod Pal, you might have heard, who is now made member of NITI. He is a medical person, but he did lot of work on health also. So he is also involved in that kind of group. So I would like to see that whatever your recommendation, that how farming system can address it, they should also be sent to the group so that in the national strategy it can be included. So these are some of the thoughts which came to my mind. I hope you will find them worth consideration. Thank you very much.
Reinforce what Professor Ramesh said about organization of research. Abraham Lincoln, who conceived the Agriculture University, which we have followed in our country, talked essentially about the whole system. We started our first universities like Pantnagar, Punjab, agriculture universities on the basis of a farming system, crop, livestock, fish. Gradually, the agriculture university became agriculture and veterinary university. Then in Andhra, it became also horticulture university. So you now that you are in a position, you'll have to revise the idea. But because J.B.S. Haldane wrote long ago, I think in the 60s, that he finds it rather surprising. Farmers in the country adopt a system, farming system. But scientists adopt a crop-centered or animal-centered approach, not a systems approach. And so I think it's one of our difficulties today. Go ahead.
Thank you, Professor Ramesh Chand, for the very insightful remarks. Our next speaker is Ms. Rasha Omar, Country Director, IFAD.
Good afternoon to all, and thank you very much to MSSRF and all the team for the organization of this consultation over these 2 days. And I'm very honored to be here, and thank you very much, Professor Swaminathan, and happy birthday to you. Dignitaries on the dais, as well as my fellow colleagues and friends in the hall. I would like to share with you perhaps some of the insights we as an organization have learned about promoting policies and strategies that enable nutrition-sensitive agriculture. I'd like to start first by a presentation of my organization, the International Fund for Agricultural Development. So the fund was created in 1977, really in the wake of the major famines that hit several parts of the world, especially in Africa, in the 70s. And hence, when we were created, our mandate was really to help the member countries and member governments of the fund to be able to boost production, productivity, and achieve food security. Despite this, the aspect of nutrition security was well enshrined in our mandate, which basically calls for improving the nutritional level of the poorest populations in the developing countries. However, we came only to the nutrition security perhaps around 2005. And it's from then on that we've been trying to link the activities that we support, especially in terms of smallholder agriculture, with their nutritional impact. And today, this morning also, when I heard our colleague Joanne speak about the transition from food security to nutrition security, and now to the next game changer of sustainable diets, I realize also that we are in that stage trying to learn about a new way of doing the farming business from a nutritional lens and from a sustainability lens. So let me share with you some of the insights we have on these aspects. So I'll share with you some of the lessons that we've learned over the last 10 years, and basically I'd like to summarize them into 3 main messages. The first thing that we have learned is that integrated rural development projects have addressed food security and nutrition in combination with women empowerment and provision of basic needs such as water, sanitation, improved housing for households, and access to primary health. So the combination of improved livelihoods, improved basic social services, and empowerment of women and men, as well as community-driven development, were really key drivers for improving both food security and nutritional security. And we've heard several examples of this today, especially with Mr. Ilango, if I'm not mistaken, who is the former Sarpanch of one of the villages. So basically bringing all this together and showing really what the communities can do. So if we translate this into strategies and policies, what basically it means is that we really need very strong coordinated action among 4 or 5 main players: the agricultural ministries and people in charge of that sector, the health, education sector, water and sanitation, as well as the whole local governance aspects. Countries who have been able to reduce their malnutrition in a significant manner, like Thailand, have actually used community-driven processes to be able to make that happen. So what it means practically is that for these 4 or 5 sectors of agriculture, health, education, water and sanitation, and local governments, silos need to be broken down, and more coordinated action and coordination happening very much at the community level. And the drivers for this would be the community local governance, as well as some of the examples I found very inspiring today of the community hunger fighters. And these very much echo the experiences of other countries that have been able to beat malnutrition. A second lesson that we have learned is in relation to nutrition-sensitive agriculture in particular, we realize that there are a number of aspects that basically help the production system become more nutrition-sensitive. We've heard today about biofortified crops. We've also heard about integrated farming systems. We've heard also about better soil nutrient management, better water management, and so forth. So basically, as Professor Shand and many others also this morning were talking about promoting a farming system approach. But in order to do that, as also again, I refer to Joanne again from ICRISAT, she basically said one key aspect to enable this to happen is to put in place the value chain that puts a premium on healthy and nutrition-rich food. The aspect is, can we wait until such value chains are created, understanding how much the consumer awareness, producer awareness still needs to happen? Our proposal is that, looking back and learning from countries in Latin America, there are short value chains that can be quickly capitalized because they do need healthy food. Some of these are hospitals. They need bulk purchases. The other sector is definitely the dormitories, residential schools. They also need to provide nutritious food to their students. Of course, there are in India, there is all the system of the ICDS, take-home rations, and so forth, that could very well be a captive market, if you want, for healthy food and nutrition-rich food. And in many states already in India, like Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, they are putting if you want, capitalizing on the strength of their self-help groups, village organizations, federations, to be able not only to supply all these institutional markets with more nutritious food, but also asking them to provide processed food. So, for example, a recent initiative in Madhya Pradesh is to be able to provide laddu made of kodo and kutki to the ICDS centers. So if you want, a captive market exists. It is institutional market, and by shortening the value chain and procuring directly from the farmers, that can also create a very big incentive to the farmers to be able to produce, because they know very well that it will help feed their children much better. The last lesson learned that we have also would like to share with you today is, of course, women, and many of you had stressed it this morning. Dr. Rama and Dr. Nitya had mentioned it very strongly in their presentations. Women empowerment, education is key to improve nutrition within a household. And what we have seen also from the presentation that Dr. Nitya also presented today is that women do quite a big share and are key actors in many of the production of the nutrition-rich food. So what that means is that the whole extension system, financial services, even titling of land should be in favor of women, much more than what is happening today across different parts of the world. And again, going to Thailand, one of their strong drivers for improving, reducing malnutrition significantly was the fact that they had empowered women and very well educated women. So these are some of the aspects that we have learned, and particularly in terms of women empowerment, there's much that can be done in terms of affirmative measures for women, formal and informal education. That has been shown to have a direct linkage to improved child nutrition, better access to extension services, and we've seen today the variety of different extension services that exist and that can be brought to scale, as well as to the, wherever this is possible and encouraged, registration of the assets, whether homesteads, land, or farmland, in the name of the women. So thank you very much for your attention, and looking forward to a very productive concluding session. Thank you.
Thank you, Rasha. Our next speaker would be Dr. Nagar Goje, the Director General of Maharashtra Council of Agriculture, Education and Research.
Dignitaries on dais and off the dais, respected Swaminathan sir. In fact, I worked in a health and nutrition mission Maharashtra State had started health and nutrition mission, and I have some experience that I'd like to share with you. Sir, Maharashtra also had, before 2005, we too had lot of malnutrition as like other states. The mission had a strategy to reach the community, empower the mothers, take the life cycle approach. See, mother knows and mother monitors the child is malnourished or not. Basically, the first speaker, he was telling that the children belonging to rich class are also malnourished. It is true. But mother doesn't know whether her child is malnourished or not. The attempt we made was, every mother will monitor her child and fix the grade of the child by her own hands. There was community monitoring chart placed in a panchayat or Anganwadi, where all mothers will come with their kids. They will weigh the kid, take the height of the kid, and then she would be told, last week the weight was so much, height was so much, now you tell where your child will lie. Then she would put a bindi and they would say that my child is this time it is in red, so grade 4 or grade 3. After 1 month, now she is knowing that her child is not normal. So then she starts, what should I do? So she was given a guidance that what kind of food she should be feeding her child. As a result, we see in a month or two, the child from the red grade would enter yellow grade. So she is told, now it is improving. See, you yourself put the bindi at a weight place and at particular age place, so that where it is. So this way, mother would monitor herself where her child lies. The basic problem in our country, mothers do not know, parents do not know whether their child is normal or mildly malnourished or moderately malnourished or severely malnourished. They know only when it is severely malnourished, because it is facing severe episodes of health problems. Diarrhea is there, dysentery is there, fever is there. The child has to be taken to the dispensary or hospital. Then she knows. Otherwise, she doesn't know. So this lack of awareness is the basic issue in our country. And all the planners at the state level, at the national level, they get the report from NFHS or any other survey, and they would just speak on that. This is the situation in our country. What is happening a day-to-day basis, monthly basis? Are we doing assessment or action research and feedback mechanism? Is it in place? Tell me. Many of you are going in the field and seeing the things. How many of you have seen that this month that was the situation? This, sir, feedback mechanism on constant monitoring is just missing. We monitor at the end of the year, at the end of the quarter, and then we realize that nothing has happened. Sir, ICDS started in Maharashtra or in India 1975. It is a 40 years plus. After 40 years plus, our efforts are not giving any results. Then who is responsible for that? Parents are responsible, functionaries are responsible, a government is responsible. Somebody has to be responsible for that, because it is the right of child to grow properly. Who can deny that? No one can deny that. But that rights of the children are deprived of. So, since 1975, if you see, this problem exists. We are not adequately empowering the mothers and empowering the communities and the families. Now, in mission, we did lot of work for 5-6 years. As a result, someone was in yesterday's presentation was showing that Maharashtra had improved in stunting. Why it improved? We worked there. I personally traveled from all districts of the state, all districts. Then we trained all the Mukhya Sevikas, Anganwadi workers, health workers, how to monitor, how to build the capacity of the mother, and how to build the capacity of Anganwadi workers, supervisors, etc. And that was quite successful. But is it sustaining? If leader changes, everything changes in this country. If leader changes, administrative leader or whatever kind of leader you have, if he or she changes, then the priorities just get changed. And basically, there is no fixing of responsibility in this country. Agriculture, now I am a DG of a state agricultural council. The professors don't teach. They just declare the syllabus. You know, what is this thing? Who is taking maximum salary in this country? These are the professors who are supposed to do research. They are supposed to do the best teaching. Everything is getting, you know, spoiled in this country. You have to fix the responsibility. But I feel this is across all the departments and all the sectors of life in this country. I feel personally that we are very ethics deficit community, ethics deficit people. Very few people are motivated, self-motivated, and they want to do something. But that proportion is really limited. Whatever we do, but whatever results we get, they are short. I tell you, sir, one more experience. Being a director in that mission, we started a competition, a simple competition, that if Anganwadi does not have grade 3, grade 4 child and even grade 2 child, all children should be either normal or mildly grade 1. There should not be a child marriage in the village. No marriage of the girl should be below 18 years of age. And like that, Anganwadi should have sanitation. Then the family should have a toilet. And you know, then we categorize the family as Anganwadis, and then we would rate them as 5-star Anganwadi, 4-star Anganwadi, 3-star Anganwadi, and like that. So Anganwadi workers, supervisors, and CDPOs started getting, you know, automatically monitored. So one supervisor or one CDPO, he is asked, how many star Anganwadis you have? 5-star Anganwadis? How many 3-star? How many 1-star? So as a result, they started working on all the aspects. They started visiting the mothers. They starting what mothers are feeding their children. What happened? In state we had thousands of 5-star Anganwadis. Means there were hundreds of villages. There was no malnourished child. There were few who had congenital problems. Because these children have some problems. But that is out of your control. You cannot do anything. So what the lesson we learned was, if we really try in the prevailing situations, we can definitely improve. But now if we are thinking of making the food available, fruits, vegetables, and pulses, and animal foods, eggs, etc., milk products available through these families, definitely things will become easy. And this will support this system, farms-based system will be definitely supporting the reduction of the malnutrition. That is my feeling. There are few slides. One couple of things, sir. You mentioned about specialized farming versus this approach of farm, means nutrition farms. You know, when I born in a really village, when I was a child, my mother used to go to the farm and get, you know, some vegetables. There used to be called one patta. That patta, you know, we have all sorghum or wheat or whatever, we have everything. But there are 3-4 lines in between which would give us leafy vegetables, pods, and you know, so many other things like cabbage, like so many things we get from that, and that family used to get. We are not saying that you don't cultivate a huge, you know, say jowar or wheat or whatever, but it is a small portion of the farm. You can bring it under the, you know, cultivation of, you know, the garden, which will definitely help the family reduce the malnutrition. So that was the point. I have some slides which I'd like to just go through. Sir, you know, these were in one district, when I was Chief Executive Officer, in one district what we started, you know, all children which were severely malnourished, they were monitored and they were brought to the center along with their mothers. And in that center, the mothers were sensitized how to care the child, how to feed the child, how many times child should be fed. So everything was done. So this is the situation taluka wise, how many tribals were there, how many non-tribals, girls, boys, etc. around 70% of the children of the district were covered. It took 1 year, and we did this experiment in 100 centers of the district. Those were all Prathmik Arogya Kendra, primary health centers. So we found what were the historical and during CDC, that is Child Development Center, what were the morbidities. So GIT disorders, then URI, then skin infections, fever, ear infection, others, and no abnormality detected. Say 50% of the children have the morbidities and 50% are okay. Why so huge morbidity? Because of sanitation problem, because of no care, because if the child is malnourished, it is susceptible for all problems. So that was the finding. Again, what happened during CDC, what was. So sir, during this 3 weeks of sensitization and putting them in an institution and and empowering the mother, what happened? So that shows how much was the weight gain. There were very few children which did not improve. So maximum children had improvement ranging from 1 to 2 milligrams per kg body weight per day. It was on daily basis monitored, and there were children which were showing even more than 7 grams per kg body weight per day. So this shows the CDC impact on the nutrition status of tribal children. We did for tribal, for non-tribal, etc. So what it was showing, the grade 4 children, you see, after 12 to 18 months, they disappeared really. Yes, we can do it. It is possible. And when we followed it for 24 to 30 months, then we started getting the children in the normal grade. That was the great achievement of this project. So I have noted certain policy issues, maybe this forum can think about it. One was sir, when I was studying in university, that time agriculture university, all courses had the subject of nutrition. Bamji ma'am is here. I had come to NI, and that time I was in university as a assistant professor. So they taught us, to teach all the agriculture university boys one course, 2 credit course in nutrition. But now it is missing. So probably it is important that all the agriculture university colleges, whether agriculture or allied, they should have a compulsory course in the nutrition. Probably maybe NIN can take up the task of training the teachers, university teachers. We have 150 plus private colleges. They are also giving education to the agriculture in the field of agriculture. So that is my suggestion. Then compulsory training for the functionaries of the state agriculture department, because those who are subsequently those who have come in the department, they don't have knowledge of nutrition, so they don't prioritize it. Whatever we do here, whatever recommendations will go, whether they will reach the community, unless the graduates, unless the functionaries are trained properly, it won't reach properly. So I feel that this is an important point. Then I talked about this community awareness and mothers awareness program in this growth monitoring, adolescent health and nutrition, mother's health and nutrition, breastfeeding, intergenerational malnutrition, sanitation, hygiene. These are critical issues to reduce the malnutrition and improve the condition of the children. So these pattas and nutrition gardens, which I saw in my life in villages, this I have noted here. There are certain policy issues really. Maybe I don't know how much it will be practicable. But sir, a secretary is posted in a WCD, and she or he doesn't have any inclination to work for the children and the mothers. There is no passion to work for them. So sir, when I will get transferred from this department? So waiting for transfer, and years will go, 2 years go, and we suffer. Country suffers, community suffer. So can we do something? The one who has inclination to work in this. I was passionate. I said I want to work for the children and mother. So I was posted as a commissioner of women and child. But unfortunately, I could not work there long because there was big lobby. They were doing all siphoning of government funds, hundreds of crores a year. I stopped it, and they just shifted me from there. I had to leave that. Anyway, unfortunate situation. But what I feel is the one who is really interested, contribute in that area, should become the secretary and the commissioner of the department. The one who is not interested should not go really. I feel education, health, and women and children, these are the departments which impact the human development of the country, there we should not compromise. Maybe some other department, if PWD or some other department doesn't get proper secretary or whatever, but maybe since you are in a high position, maybe you can think of it. That is my personal feeling. Then, sir, in IAS there is a training and there is examination before you get the next post. In state government doesn't happen anything like that. In university also, just they have some papers and then they fulfill the requirement. Then assistant professor, associate becomes professor, then HOD, and so they get everything. But what they give to the community is a big question. It is a big question. What we can do about that? I said, we should have a concept of accountability. If you are not accountable, you won't do anything. In this country, self-motivated people are very less. So can we do this? Can we implement this thing? If we implement it, when I was working in mission, I used to go and do the monitoring and show to the authorities that these are the people who have done the excellent job in the district and these are the people who have not done anything. So they used to show us notice and they used to stop their increments. So we used to get the phone call, who has asked to do all these things? He said, what should I do then? Your people are not working. Some people are doing excellent work, some people are not doing. So principle of accountability is very important and that is missing really. Whatever is there, we have accountability, but that is not at all working. So, sir, incentives and disincentives are important. This we may take in our suggestions. Participation of KVK's Extension Education Department and other stakeholders could be important in reducing the malnutrition and taking this policy thing ahead. Sir, we have a THR, take home ration. So take home ration means it is produced in the industry, it is packed, it is going to Anganwadi center, then it is given to the mothers for feeding it to the child or for feeding it to the pregnant and lactating mothers. Its quality is of that sort, it is fed to the animals. So how would you think that the amount of funds which all of us are pouring in is really going into the right beneficiaries? Is a really big question. There is a big interest group. There is a conflict of interest. The conflict of interest, if you empower the mother, if you give the funds to the mother to take care of the child, to feed that child, probably can we think of this experiment? Can we think of this new strategy? Now, instead of doing that, there are people who say, no. We should prepare it in the industry, pack it and provide it, because they get the business. So this is commerce. This is a commerce. So we are thinking from the perspective of our own traditional systems, not marketing and then giving branding and then somebody is making big profit out of that. So how many of you know the one state will have a budget of supplementary nutrition in a state? How much would be the budget? Can anybody imagine? Sir, I tell you, Maharashtra has a budget of 1400 crores a year. But still we cannot reduce the malnutrition. We don't do the awareness, raising awareness. So how much fund we should spend? 1400 crores is less? I don't think. Sir, I'm really going ahead of my, so it's the end of my this thing. So I was passionate to look at this problem, and with the leadership of Professor Swaminathan, we all will be charged and we will be moving ahead. We will do definitely something positive for the country. Thank you, friends.
My own senior colleague from the family of agriculture economist, Dr. Ramesh Chand, and country director and member secretary from Maharashtra, and senior nutritionist from the FAO and from MSSR. For all you, I wish you good evening. And நமது பேராசிரியருக்கு அகவை 92 ஆகிறது. எனக்கு வாழ்த்த வயதில்லை. ஸோ வணங்கி என்னுடைய உரையை ஆரம்பிக்கிறேன். வணக்கம் சார். So from Planning Commission from Tamil Nadu, as already spoken by my previous speakers, some of the initiatives that from the planning side we have done has been told by them. So I just want to supplement those things that we have been done for the past 4 to 5 years. So in the 12th plan itself, we have made a commitment on nutrition in our state. which has been cited by the renowned economist Amartya Sen, that it is only in the states like Tamil Nadu that the process sees a political will and commitment to tackle these issues by setting goals like achieving the status of malnutrition-free Tamil Nadu. So accordingly, we from the government of Tamil Nadu, we resolved that a policy for a malnutrition-free Tamil Nadu guides the states a long-term multi-sectoral strategy by eliminating malnutrition. The goal is reducing the human malnutrition of all types to the levels of best performing countries. This was one of the things that we have resolved, and accordingly, from during the last 2 years, actually it has been drawn from the policy note. There is a conspicuous reduction in SUV, that is severely underweight and moderately underweight children. And I just want to compare this malnutrition and also with the farming systems in which I did small exercise on the growth rate of agriculture and allied sector in Tamil Nadu, whereas in which since Tamil Nadu depends heavily on the monsoon rainfall, it has a large ups and downs, in which the monsoon, because in the case of less failure of monsoon here, it went to minus, and other things it was in positive, right? So in the last plan also, from the planning commission side, we proposed a cropping system or a farming system based on the millet based one, in which adoption of high yielding varieties, all things are done, and from the efforts made by the department and the government, there is a conspicuous increase in millets area in the state, right from 6.38 lakh hectares to 9 lakh hectares, and there is a slight fall in the last year because of the persistent drought of 142 years, and quality seed distribution, and also we through schemes like MSD, Mission for Sustainable Dryland Agriculture, we cited it as a holistic way, and also through value addition that has been mentioned by even in the farmers forum also. So in the places like Kolli Hills and Javad Hills and all, where the millets is being grown, even in Erkard and all, the main problem of value addition or processing. So from the planning commission side, we made some schemes like a state balanced growth fund, in which some 105 blocks that have been out of the 385 blocks, we delineated 105 blocks as a backward blocks, for which we are supporting for millets value addition and all, for increasing the consumer awareness and also for increasing the processing. And this was one of the scheme with respect to this millets. I just want to millets and pulses and oilseeds and cotton in the dryland areas. So here in which nearly 1,000 dryland clusters will be created in the coming 4 years of 1,000 hectares each, and in which there are many financial and agronomical assistance are being planned. And from planning commission side also, we did a small experiment in Perambalur district, in which we call it the AGEP, that is the Adolescent Girl Empowerment Program, in which nearly 2,800 children participated in this Alathur block, and we provided with a set of supplementary food. Sir, this is a small intervention done by us, sir. It is not a huge one. From the planning commission side, we supported, and in which millets like ragi and oilseeds, sesame, Bengal gram, all have been given to the children for the from the age group of in the adolescent. After 6 months, we just quantified the impact, and there was a conspicuous reduction in the severely anemia category from 2.1 to 1.1, and in the case of moderate also from 19.9% to 7.3%. And also midterm anemic level also there is a conspicuous reduction. And based on this project, now ICDS came up with a huge proposal to include more districts. I think more than 10 districts under, and some of the projects are being formulated. And another one, as our Nitya member also told that about the inclusion of this kitchen garden like the things, and also from the person from the FAO also indicated, and a promotion of Nutri-garden concept among the adolescent, that we did a small experiment in Bedanayakanpalayam, a backward block in Salem district. Actually in the KGBV schools, as rightly mentioned by my previous speaker about the residential school. This Kasturibai Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya, these are residential schools for adolescent girls to avoid the dropouts, particularly in the case of deprived communities like SC, ST and other backward classes, so that in the educationally backward blocks. It is a Government of India scheme run. And when we supported from Planning Commission for some infrastructure development, actually for these schools we supported some infrastructure development under SPGF, in which these children are having a special vocational class for skill development. In the skill development, what they did mainly of this toy making, bag making, soft doll making and all. And then when we intervened there, almost all the children are from agriculture or tribal. Mostly they are tribal only. So why a concept of kitchen garden with a Nutri-garden concept can be introduced? So we did a small experiment in one of the school in Salem district, in which nearly 4,800 square feet area in the school campus. Previously that school campus does not have any compound wall. So we provided some compound wall for the entire stretch. So we went for that activity, and the warden and teachers were given training in TNA Coimbatore. And also the KVK TNAU Salem has been roped in. And this is the first time all the warden and these children are now practicing small kitchen garden. To our surprise, nearly 290 kgs of different vegetables, nearly 12 vegetables were harvested in one season, sir. Tomato 75 kg, bendi 5 kg, cluster beans 6 kg, cabbage to 100 kgs also, lab 2 kg, snake gourd 22 kg, brinjal 10 kg, chilies 5 kg, and bitter gourd 5 kg, and border gourd, that and these are the different. And another important one is all along the compound wall we have planted moringa and agathi, sir. So that for these children, every alternate days, this is being fed as a porial to these children, and we are in the process of quantifying it in the terms of reduction of anemia, or else increasing from the moderately MUV to better child. And the Nutri-garden concept now has been included in the minds of the children. Once they leave the schools, they can go to the villages and also they can do. So from the policy perspective, we view this the promotion of millets as a nutri-cereals, which much has been discussed in the previous sessions also, and crop diversification, particularly in the dryland tracts, and also nutri-rich based food consumption. That's the nutrient supplements that we have done a small experiment in Perambalur, and bio-fortified crops, including Nutri-garden concept among the different target group. And importantly, the more convergence. Because as another thing we are just going to implement is this concept to be extended to this Yagaleva model schools. In the tribals area, there are 5 Yagaleva model schools are being constructed, and in which this treatment is going to, we are going to extend it. I thank the one and all and the organizers for giving me.
Thank you, Dr. Jagan Mohan. The last speaker in this session is Dr. Lalita Bhattacharjee, panelist.
A very good evening, respected Professor Swaminathan, the eminent panel, our eminent audience, and my dear friends. I'm the last speaker. Much of what I'm going to say is something that you already know. It's like carrying coal to Newcastle, but nevertheless, I will make some very practical points on the policy, and possibly I will illustrate with some quick examples from Bangladesh, a small country, but where there has been some outcome and some success. Just to reiterate, and I mentioned this yesterday, at the ICN2 in 2014 in Rome, 164 countries, 200 civil society organizations and private sector, they committed to reforming their food systems. And this was that we commit to enhance sustainable food systems by developing public policies, and from production to the plate, that was the focus, in order that all of us can have safe and diversified healthy diets. The good news for nutrition is that on April 1st, 2016, the United Nations General Assembly agreed on a resolution, and this was declared as the UN Decade for Action on Nutrition from 2016 to 2025. So here we are all working on this particular cause, and this has been a great opportunity for all of us on especially agriculture-based nutrition. And this is something that we already know, we've talked about it, but the important point is that Asia and Africa lose 11% of the GNP every year due to poor nutrition. I just thought we should flag this again. And if you look at obesity right down, it's almost $2.0 trillion that have been attributed to the economic burden. This is a very chart. Most of us have seen it. This is from the Lancet series 2013. I just want to flag your attention to the right side where we talk about nutrition sensitive programs, which serve as important service delivery entry points for promoting both the nutrition specific and the sensitive actions and sensitive approaches. I think we've talked about it in the last 2 days, and we flagged our attention to agriculture, we flagged attention to WASH, and many other programs which come under the gamut of nutrition sensitive areas. The important thing is that the nutrition sensitive approaches or nutrition sensitive programs address the underlying causes and the basic causes of malnutrition, and this is where we have to put much of our effort. And this focuses on the first 1,000 days, but certainly does take a lifespan approach as well. FAO at the ICN2 also brought out some recommendations, out of which I just thought we can look at this very quickly. Food and agriculture policies have better impacts on nutrition if, number one, if they can increase incentives and also decrease disincentives for the availability, access and consumption of diverse and safe foods. And these should be environmentally sustainable for production, trade and distribution. And as we've talked about yesterday and today, the focus should be on the continuum of agriculture ranging from crop, horticulture, fisheries and livestock. And these should be available and inexpensive and also nutrient rich. We've been talking about the nutrient density of foods, the importance of dietary diversity, but I think one point that we often miss, and I think nutritionists have to translate this into simple, actionable quantities or in amounts, where we look at the nutrient return for the money spent. Now this is something that needs to be brought home to the common man, and this has been talked about. So I think this is another area that we need to focus under policy, and also the underutilized foods. The MS Swaminathan Foundation is doing wonderful work on this, so it's not as if, what I'm saying is something that we already know. But I think across the world we've noticed that less than 10% of our energy in our diets really is contributed from underutilized foods or the indigenous foods. So this is something that we have to once again revive and focus our attention. A lot was talked about this even yesterday on FSF and other foods. Now monitor the dietary consumption and access to safe and diversified foods. There's a lot being talked about the measurement of undernutrition, measurement of undernourishment, dietary diversity, minimum acceptable diet. I will just take a minute on this, where certainly high on the agenda we look at population level undernourishment. With respect to my eminent Dr. Chand on the prevalence of population level undernourishment, well, I think there could be a discussion on this. At the population level, they look at the prevalence of undernourishment, not really undernutrition. There's a misunderstanding on this particular terminology, where prevalence of undernourishment really looks at dietary energy adequacy against what we call as minimum dietary energy requirement. I agree with you that the cutoff is based on different country levels, and in this case, if 1805 has been taken as the calorific threshold, it is across the country of 1.3 billion whatever. So when you look at that, that was really the threshold given. I do tend to agree that this doesn't give you a true picture, but it is not meant to assess child undernutrition, which is the physical dimensions of growth, but this is more on dietary energy adequacy. The second important point is we don't look at calories only as a measure of nutritional status, but you can look at the calorie contribution from different food groups when we look at the percentage of different food groups which contribute to calories. And if you look at the Indian profile of production diversity or other countries, the focus is to try and see that we have a normative, desirable pattern of no more than 60% of your energy must come from cereals. I think that is where a bit of the focus is being done. But I take your point that it's a gross estimate of undernourishment from the supply situation. On other indicators, I think we've talked about it. The food insecurity experiential scale is being done across the world under the Voices of Hungry project.
We also look at the women's dietary diversity, which is a proxy for micronutrient adequacy, and this I think is being used by countries to look at women's diets. And minimum acceptable diet for children's diets from 6 to 23 months is a very powerful indicator of what kind of dietary quality and nutrient adequacy we can have for the child. There are measures that protect and empower poor women and safety nets, market access, all these are very important points. I will not run to developing capacities and supporting multi-sectoral strategies. Okay, what is being done at country level? I think I'll just take a little minute over here. I won't read all this, but you can see over here that in 2010, Bangladesh had developed their country investment plan. In a nutshell, what is this country investment plan all about? The 13 partner ministries looked across different sectors and they prioritized 12 programs across agriculture, food security and nutrition, and they prioritized, and the policy officials actually quantified and estimated what would be the cost of conducting these programs over a 5-year period, and different amounts were allocated. And what they looked at was needs assessment, stakeholder mapping, and a roadmap was developed, and this was being monitored across on an annual basis across these ministries. In terms of data, there is a data disconnect when we look at monitoring policies, and these are generally available at an aggregate level from household income expenditure surveys. You have the DHS surveys, health and nutrition surveys, and you have agriculture surveys. The main intention, and I don't have to talk about this to an Indian audience, but if you look at it across sectors or across government departments, if these data can be used across a common results framework, and you look at the impact level, if you're going to impact child stunting, and then you have output level indicators, annually you are able to monitor it, and this was done quite successfully, and they were able to look at not only the delivery of the program per se in terms of outputs and outcomes, but also in terms of financial delivery. And this helped to provide an accounting methodology for the government, and they looked at this under their annual development program, fed this into the finance ministry, so you were able to calculate the financial gap for different investments. So this was an example, and this is the 2016 report. They were doing it every year. In 2017, it's totally done in Bangla, so I haven't really brought that with me. There's an institutional framework from technical groups to food policy working group, national committees, and the cabinet level committee, which gives you strategic orientation. The important point that I want to flag here is there has been a consistency of policies across governments and across different governments that have come in, and there's been a certain accountability in terms of this from each of the policy officials across those 13 partner ministries. There was a results chain, common results chain, which was harmonized between the programs and the financial investments, and this helped to understand what are you getting in terms of money, what is your return for those programs that are being implemented. This is just a quick figure where in 2010, 14.1 billion was pledged and financed. Out of it, 8.8 billion was utilized and completed, and then there was a financing gap of 5.3 billion because of the pipeline projects. Now, what is important is this was over a 5-year period, and the projects are still going on, so it goes beyond the life of the country investment plan. Currently, the government is now going towards a country investment plan number 2, which is on nutrition-sensitive investments. These are the 5 areas that we've seen, and you will be quite pleased to know that across all these 5 programs, nutrition has been very substantially mainstreamed, apart from the fact that you have one single program dedicated to nutrition and another one to food safety. And cross-cutting across the interface, you have an enabling environment and framework for governance and cross-sectoral interventions. In a small country, possibly this is possible. There is a certain level of harmonization. But in a large country like India, I think we have a lot of good work that's happening. But I just wanted to draw your attention to this accounting methodology for policy monitoring that has been systematically being carried out. And this feeds into the nutrition and post-2515 sustainable development goals, where number 2 is to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. I just thought these were the important points for policy attention that we would like to flag. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lalita. The panelists have ended with the example of what's actually happening on the ground in a neighboring country, and that would again feed into our recommendations. So we've presented the summary of what happened during the technical sessions. We've heard the panelists, and we'd also asked all of you for key action points. So my colleague Jayashree will present the summary of these action points, and we will be collating all of them together into the Chennai Action Plan.
Thank you, Dr. Bhavani. And in fact, our Executive Director, Dr. Selvam, Dr. Rukmini, and Dr. Bhavani, we sat together and put together all the action points that were raised. Respected Professor, respected member of the Niti Aayog and distinguished panelists, this is just to take you through what has emerged from specific points that have been provided by participants at this 3-day consultation. It was mentioned very clearly at the start of the consultation that we need to have a concrete action plan or an agenda. It's all very well to have good ideas and have good intentions, but when these need to be translated into action, we need to have something very specific that can be shared with policymakers, and we do hope that this will be an important outcome of this consultation. To just give a brief overview about the process was the consultation. Of course, the purpose was to look at achieving zero hunger, 2030 sustainable development goal, and look at specifically the concept of farming system for nutrition, which has been an area that Professor Swaminathan has a concept that he has developed and MSSRF has been working on. And we've had a summary of the key points from the technical sessions from Dr. Bhavani, and after which we also asked for specific action points from participants. The reason we did this was that we've had a lot of good ideas, we've had a lot of good questions, we've also had a lot of good case studies, sharing of best practices. But what do we do on the way ahead was something we were looking at more specific input. So these were points that were given by participants, which will feed into a final action plan document. We will be sharing this subsequently after this meeting, and we will be looking for your inputs, further inputs to refine it, to share, hopefully, sir, with you. So this is how we have, as I've just mentioned. And the way we've looked at it is we've categorized it based on common points. So if you've made a particular suggestion and there's a couple of other people who made similar suggestions, these have been clubbed into one based on 3 thematic areas that on which we have categorized all the suggestions that have come in. And we've picked action points over generic suggestions and generic good intentions that were expressed. While these are important, we felt it's more crucial to have a specific action agenda. And the nutrition revolution, I mean, this term was used by Professor yesterday at the function where Dr. Andrade was awarded the MS Swaminathan Prize for Environment, but it seemed to be really timely now to look at something which is a nutrition revolution, moving beyond just agriculture and food security. So the first component is the agriculture nutrition linkages. We're looking at the principles, incorporating the principles of evergreen revolution in the concept of farming system for nutrition. These have been variously used by participants. The term evergreen agriculture came in, the term evergreen revolution also came in. So we were looking at incorporating these as a specific recommendation. Establishing community seed banks and genetic gardens of nutrient-dense traditional crops. More than one suggestion on using traditional knowledge, wisdom, crops, and looking at seed banks and ways to actually implement it. So it's good to have a knowledge source, but how do we put that into practice? The community seed banks and the genetic gardens that were presented as well. Scientific validation of the nutrition value of traditional crops was another recommendation, where we need to look at understanding this a bit better, recognizing, acknowledging, and more than that, validating. The next point is on promoting local products with processing and value addition. So looking at, I think this was also mentioned by Professor Chand in his remarks, where we don't need to look at very high-tech solutions sometimes. We can look at localized solutions, and an example was also shared from the Tamil Nadu Planning Commission on this. Looking at training a cadre of men and women for revival and scaling up of traditional crops and food systems. So where we can talk about not just conservation, but actually utilizing and bringing them into the food systems. And promoting and encouraging research on wild edibles and NUS in farming systems. So these are some of the first part of the agriculture nutrition linkages. To move on, we look at more intergenerational discourse amongst indigenous communities to revitalize traditional knowledge and ensure continuous to make sure that it's not just knowledge which is documented, but which is continued, preserved, and transmitted, and popularize inclusion of tubers, which came up in more than one presentation and right from the inaugural session where we've had a discussion on this. So we have put this as a very specific action point, and looking at identifying specific crops where the role of nutrition and the role of non-communicable diseases, the role of the health benefits of various crops have been discussed. But if you are looking at promoting them, we need to look at identifying certain crops and promoting them very specifically for their role in addressing these deficiencies to promote cultivation and consumption. The emphasis is on both aspects. Look at community-owned and managed nutrition gardens. We've had examples during the sessions where specific interventions have helped address malnutrition, and especially for landless. So this was one more issue that has cropped up, and this was an action point suggested by one of the participants. Farming system for nutrition also include aquaculture and fisheries. In principle and ideally as the concept is proposed, it includes these components, but we feel that this should be included as an action point as well, and have naturally biofortified micronutrients and other beneficial nutrients. So this section covers or puts in a nutshell the various points received. We had close to 50 suggestions actually emerging from all participants. So thank you very much for that. It's been a very good audience. But this is the first component, which is the agriculture nutrition linkage that has been summarized. Follow this up with policy. So that's the next major heading, where analyzing, monitoring, enhancing budgets. So all three components, in fact, these came up over different suggestions, but it's been clubbed to look at specifically budgets, analyzing, monitoring, as well as enhancing. Enhancing is, of course, this was mentioned by our chairperson right in the inaugural session where she said there's not enough investment. So this is also being felt by some of the participants for nutrition and nutrition-sensitive agriculture. The second being policy support for scaling up proven interventions. So there have been a number of good case studies that have been proven, that have been presented, but we need policy support to have them integrated and looking at the contribution of farming system to nutrition. So this conference focuses on a specific attribute where we are looking at, but we need policy support to see that it is scaled up. Look at gender divisions of work and planning interventions to provide adequate support to address time trade-offs, and I think our country director from IFAD also mentioned the importance of gender and how that has that those points were significant which were made. Focus on local, easily available, affordable solutions, and include implement pulses and millets in brackets, since that's already there in the food security, but pulses is also suggested for inclusion in the PDS, and all state governments to actually implement it, which still is something that needs to be done. So this is on the policy aspect, and the next is, it's actually a rather broad heading which includes education, training, awareness. So there's a lot of different components, but these have been clubbed under one head. And it starts from really catching them young, which is including nutrition, topics of nutrition, and locally available food in school curriculum. We've seen about school experiments. We've seen how involving children in kitchen gardens has helped. So actually putting that in the curriculum as well is one action point. And strengthening agriculture courses. This has not been emphasized enough, I think, this time. So many people have repeated this point through the conference. Look at training agriculture extension officers in nutrition and household nutrition literacy. So we have this huge network which is already in place, but can it also be involved in nutrition and household nutrition literacy? I think this is really an important policy that could make a difference. Strengthen the nutrition capacity of national, state, and local leadership to enhance nutrition delivery. And we're talking right from at the panchayat level to the national level. And implement a convergent communication campaign. So we have been speaking about how the corporates are able to do their branding much better, sell concepts much better, while when it comes to development, we need to do the same thing. So can all departments look at pooling in resources and having one? We did have Kuposhan Bharat Chodo, but I think we need to do something more than that, to have one uniform message that builds awareness, not just building a momentum or a buzz about the issue. So strengthen the role of KVKs in building models for nutrition farming. So not just for extension, we're looking at having models that will be shared, and this can be again a very powerful mechanism. Having a better understanding of consumer preference based on taste, flavor, and culture, where examples shared of how sometimes we talk about better nutrition but not about what the consumer wants. And behavior change communication on generating demand for nutrition rich. So rather than us trying to push nutrition as an agenda, try to push demand so people are actually looking for more nutritious food. So work on it from the other end. And linkages with the Swachh Bharat and the wash sector, so water and sanitation to be closely involved. With one without the other would not really work, and it's a very important part of nutrition. And yes, there's a lot of impetus being given to Swachh Bharat movement, so that could build into this. Establish a knowledge portal on naturally biofortified crops and plants with agronomic practices. So that's really to build a knowledge base that would be available for having information on biofortified crops, because we've also been discussing biofortification, but to make this even stronger. So that is really, in a nutshell, the three broad areas where we looked at agriculture, nutrition linkages, policy and education, training and awareness. And steps ahead, we'd be looking at pooling everything that we've got, right from the technical sessions to the action points that have been presented, and have some sort of a policy document ready for review and for sharing. So, and I hope that we will be able to send it across as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jayashree. I now request Professor Swaminathan to make
Well, I think we have the last couple of hours a summary of what has happened here. Jayashree presented the suggestions given by everyone here. What is important, as I mentioned earlier or repeatedly, one can live with ideas, with our prospects, with our opportunities, but one should grab them also. Fortunately, in the country today, the political will to overcome malnutrition is increasing. A state like Chhattisgarh, for example, has introduced pulses and also iodized salt, the PDS. The other day, the Karnataka minister who came here mentioned that in Karnataka, Ragi has been introduced to the PDS, and they were proposed to introduce many of the millets in the public distribution system. That means there's a market and the farmers grow. Most important thing for the farmers, apart from their own self-consumption, an opportunity to get some money from their efforts. I should also, since we are in Tamil Nadu, I will tell you that in 1980, 80 or 81, the then Chief Minister M.G. Ramchandran came to the place where Dr. Ramesh Chand now is there. It was all called Planning Commission. Now it is Niti Aayog. And he said he wants to introduce universal noon meal program in the schools, government schools. At that time, if I remember, it cost about 300 to 400 crores. He said, I'm not going to ask anybody. When I was a young boy, I was poor. When I used to go to school, many times my hunger prevented me from concentration. What the teacher was saying, I was not really following. And therefore, when I am Chief Minister, I want to ensure that every child in Tamil Nadu has an opportunity to learn the basic opportunity of having nutrition. Also, other catalytic interventions in this state include, for example, home institutional delivery of children during pregnant women. That has brought down the MMR very considerably. Maternal mortality rate has come down considerably by what I call a catalytic intervention. There are many other examples in this country where various state governments have introduced new innovations. But what is important is now a common minimum program, a basic minimum to achieve freedom from malnutrition. When I talked about children and nutrition, there was a very recent article in the British journal Nature, which has given very detailed data on how malnutrition affects a child's brain development and also its cognitive abilities. This is true. I called it long ago. I gave the consequence of malnutrition in children the term, you are promoting intellectual dwarfism for no reason for the children. Child is not concerned, but intellectual dwarfism is preventing the child from attaining its full potential, intellectual and physical potential. Therefore, I think we should now, with the political will is very important, professional skill is important, and people's understanding and participation. Repeatedly, it was mentioned many times, awareness is not there, nutritional literacy is not there. That is why we started the community hunger fighter program. In the community itself, it is mainly a nutrition literacy program. We should start it from the young ages. I find here Sarah Jaman. Can you please stand up? She is a Borlaug Ruan Fellow from the United States. The World Food Prize Foundation felt the best way of sensitizing people to hunger is to select school children, not she's still going to go to the college. Please sit down, Sarah. We receive one of these Borlaug Fellows who go to villages. I think she worked in Kolli Hills and learned new opportunities. I think we should also expose our school children from well-to-do schools to the consequences of hunger in terms of purely academic performance and maintenance. Because many times we think a child is useless, child is not learning. This is what M.G. Ramchandran said. I was considered to be a poor student, but I was not listening to the teacher, I was hungry, and unless my hunger is overcome. So the topic we are discussing last few days has got wider implications in human development. It is not merely just hunger, one meal or two meals, we are not hungry, but it has wider implications for our society and for the future of our country. Therefore, I am glad Professor Rameshan is here, and people like you have indicated what are all the difficulties at a practical level. Difficulties will always be there. Difficulties are there to be overcome. We can't go on living with difficulties. We have to look at the opportunities which are there. Today there are uncommon opportunities, I would say, in our country to overcome malnutrition in the next few years. It can be done. Thailand did it in a few years. Many other individual items like MMR have been brought down. Kerala has brought down very steeply child mortality rate, very steeply it has brought down. Many other states have done. Chinese brought down infant mortality rate by one step, namely clean drinking water. Those who know more of China, first thing they give you is a flask of boiled water. Water is very important. Water, sanitation and so on. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again. But before there is proper water thanks, and that will be given. But I want to thank all the participants. Even at the end, normally most halls will be empty towards the end of the program. It is full here, I find full here. I want to compliment and thank all the participants because you have been active. And of course, whatever you have learned, of course, you can apply. You can apply in a small way, in your own way. But above all, I want to thank my colleague, Dr. Shelvam. Mary Shelvam, a very humble man, sitting somewhere. He is the director of the institution, executive director. Please give him a big hand. he and his colleagues, I don't want to name everybody, it will be done by the vote of thanks. But it is my duty to record my sincere appreciation to the Executive Director, Dr. Shalvan, for silently working on this program. I hope those who attended here have found the meeting useful. It will be useful only if we are able to sow the seeds for the nutrition revolution. I remember in 1966, we had a meeting in Jaipur, the wheat, how to produce the wheat revolution. So Professor V.K.R. was then in the Planning Commission. He had come there, and I said in the next 5 years, we will be reaching 20 million tons. At that time, it was 10 million tons. He said, I will be happy even if we reach 15 million tons, but he didn't believe at all that this is going to happen. Naturally, a good economist will be careful in assessment. I can be not careful, but honest. But it did happen. It did happen. The whole world has written it off, written India off as one which is capable of feeding itself. We have shown that is not correct. Falsifying the prophets of doom has been one of India's greatest achievements. In many cases, how to falsify prophets of doom, whether it is hunger, stop, my voice has given me a warning not to continue. Well, thank you all very much, and please do something in your own way, individual way, whatever you can do, influence whoever you know about malnutrition. But as a country, ultimately, anything which we achieve dramatically is the interaction between technology and public policy. Technology of nutrition is important. Public policies which support balanced nutrition and school meal program and so on, various methods of overcoming hunger. So we are fortunate, they said, that the political system is getting more and more concerned with malnutrition and willing to give support. Professionals have to take advantage of a time. Shakespeare, there is a time and place when in the affairs of men, when you catch it. This is the time, this is the time. Thank you very much, and enjoy your tea later. Meanwhile, there will be a vote of thanks. Thank you.
On behalf of the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, I feel really privileged to say a big thank you to each and every one of you who has contributed towards making this consultation a big success. First and foremost, our sincere thanks to our beloved professor for guiding us through this consultation and for being an inspiration to all of us here. So someone in the earlier session referred to him as a super magnet who attracts farmers, farmer leaders, scientists, policymakers, politicians, all of them in one platform. We have been seeing this year after year. Every year during our Foundation Day, when we organize a conference, we see that in one platform, it is professor who is able to attract and bring all of them in the same platform. So thank you, sir, for your leadership and for making this entire event possible. Over the past 2.5 days, we have had 7 technical sessions and over 40 presentations. We have had presentations from distinguished scientists, best practicing farmers, and representatives from civil society organizations, policymakers, and politicians. Our thanks to all the dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Ramesh Chand, Dr. Omar, Dr. Nagar Goje, Dr. Jagan Mohan, and Dr. Lalita Bhattacharjee, and to all the panelists who had presented papers in the earlier sessions, and to all those who chaired and conducted the various sessions. Thank you very much. And to more than anything, for all the participants here who made every session very lively and interesting, and for your very active participation. Now, this consultation was made possible mainly through the financial support from Tata Trust. So a big thank you to Tata Trust from us. Our thanks to our friends from the electronic and print media for covering the event over the last 2.5 days. Within the organization, the list of names is too long for me to enumerate here. I would like to place on record our thanks to our trustees, our chairperson for their support, and to our executive director for spearheading the event. Many of my colleagues have worked tirelessly over the last 3 months in organizing this event. Several committees were set up to take charge of your travel, accommodation, of reception, of the food, and the various stalls that you see, and our community participants who have come all the way to showcase their produce. And we have had committees for this floor management and in the preparation of the background material. And there have been many of my colleagues who are involved in all of this. So I thank each and every one of them. And I've tried to be almost exhaustive. And if I have, by oversight, omitted anybody, kindly excuse me. So with that, I say a big thanks once again, and best wishes to all of you for a safe trip back home. Thank you.